If you're of the argument that AI is going to create new jobs, I urge you to point me to one. You have no idea how lonely the average Indian is. Let's say you and I are selling toothpaste, and I can sell anything. I can sell it for 100 rupees. You come in, you're a daring entrepreneur, and you say, that guy's selling at 100, he has no competition, I'm going to sell it at 20 rupees. I'm going to cut him so hard.
Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Saheli, and with me today I have one more time Mr. Varun Mayya. We made a podcast online a couple of years back and you guys loved it so much that I just had to request him to come on the channel again and talk about the latest developments in tech, AI, and how is it going to affect freelancing. He's also working on a lot of other cool stuff which I am excited to learn about from you today. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get started. My first question is that in the last 1 year, how has AI changed the way you run your business, personally, professionally?
I think first is the perceived, at least internally perceived long-term effects of AI. I think there's lots of things we would have worked on in life, I would have worked on in life had AI not come. And many of those things are now out the door. I will not do them because I just feel like doing them means 2 years down the line, AI is just going to eat them up.
Like what?
A lot of things. Like, for example, content writing, right? I probably won't build a business around content writing, but even if I had like a 1% chance of doing that, now that chance is zero. Like, I'm not taking that risk. There are other things, right? Like, for example, in software, and hopefully we'll talk about this in software. We don't sell software anymore. We used to sell a lot of software. Even after AI came out, we sold a lot of software. But now, one of the big learnings for us is the cost of software at some point is going to be zero. Everyone's going to sell at zero, and AI just makes that marginal cost of creating new software very, very low. So, but it's still valuable. You still use it behind the scenes. You can still use it internally. Companies will still buy it internally. Wipro, TCS are still going to exist. So a lot of nuances like that, which we discovered building our own AI tools. So a lot of things, a lot of ways in which I look at the world, my approaches, my timeline, right? I no longer feel like I have 20 years, 30 years left to build something great. It's all compressed. So that's why now we're doing things in parallel rather than serially. Yeah, everything changed. And every time I try to chill, in my head, I'm always like, I can chill 10 years later when AGI is here. AGI is artificial general intelligence, for those that don't know. I can always chill then rather than, I should just work hard now. So it's a great motivator. It's changed a lot of things, but also it's changed the workflow. Like, if you've seen my content on Instagram, some of the videos are completely automated, right? So it frees up more of my time. When we send out proposals, it's now all the proposals are automated. It's been great. AI has been great for us, great for ideas.
Does the automated stuff get the same results as the original stuff?
Depends on whether you have a brand or not. Like, I'll give you a hypothesis, okay? Or I'll ask you a question, and I'll ask the audience a question. You're familiar with Overpowered, right? I do this thing with Tanmay called Overpowered. Let's say Overpowered wants to reach out to companies for brand deals, okay? If I'm sending out an email for Overpowered manually, if I have somebody on the team sending out an email saying, hey, in the last video we collaborated with whatever, Google, Swiggy, blah, blah, blah. Last few videos we collaborated with these guys. Do you want to work with us? Right? And here's the expected impression foot count and whatnot. That would work. Now, it doesn't matter whether that's AI or not, because what carries the weight of the message is the brand, right? Is the traffic and the traction that Overpower already has and the previous brands that we've collaborated with. So I don't care. I don't think the people on the other end really care about whether the email is generic or not. They just need to be reminded that this exists in the world and you can take action on it and call us now at whatever. So I feel like when you have a brand, it's okay to be slightly generic in your messaging on the B2B side, right? Now, AI doesn't work so well on the consumer side, right? If I'm writing a script for a video, you can tell there are gaps in the storytelling, cultural context of India it doesn't get. Our anime video is fully scripted by GPT, right? And I feel like it had so many holes in it, but we just wanted to do a tech demo, right? We didn't really care about the story for that one as much. So it has its pros, it has its cons. But in general, I think the ability for us to have AI available at our fingertips and it just keep getting better over time is, I'm blessed to be in this era, to be born in this era.
Agreed with that. You say that you're blessed to be born in this era, but there's a lot of people who are very worried about their livelihoods. And whenever I look at the news, there's actually two conflicting opinions. There's one set of people who always say that AI is going to take away jobs, but there's also one set of people who say that AI is going to amplify the scope for higher paying jobs and more income potential. And it confuses me.
No, they're not mutually exclusive. They're both the same thing.
Really?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. A good graphic designer now, a well-reputed, a graphic designer who a lot of people know, can now take up 10 times the volume of jobs. So it's increasing his, earning capacity. But that comes at the cost of some other graphic designers who would have been hired historically for that role. So it increases earning opportunity for some people, it decreases earning opportunity for others. It skews the power law. In every world, in every space, in every field, there's a power law. Some people get all the deals. Like, you're a creator, right? The top creator in your space would probably get hundreds of deals, right? And the worst creator, maybe somebody with 5,000 views, get 0 deals. It's just how it works. So now it's almost like that power law now is applied to everything else, because the execution, the time to execution is low. So that happens. And I feel like people are worried, yes, but also people call me an AI doomer, but I'm a jobs doomer. AI and jobs doomer. I don't feel like AI is going to nuke the world, or like, I don't feel like things are going to be destroyed. If anything, income inequality might do that, because people will get angry and whatnot. It's going to be civil chaos. But I feel like that can be managed, right? The optimistic element to it is, why do we even need jobs? Jobs are not a law of nature. Nature didn't say that jobs have to exist. We made the concept of jobs. And in a world where it's almost like you have a god-like thing that's doing everything, the god-like thing can also produce things, right? It can drop the cost of production to a very, very small amount. So you can't eat money. You eat resources, right? You can't, like, you need food, water, shelter, the basics. And having godlike technology, and especially godlike technology where we're able to embody it in robots, which is going to happen very soon, you live in a world of abundance. You can live in a world of abundance. So I feel like as long as you disconnect from the idea of jobs, it's doomer when it comes to jobs, yes. But the minute you disconnect from the idea of jobs, it's great. And also there's one more argument which I called bullshit on like 6 months ago, which it's very important to keep reminding people of this. Everyone kept saying, and you've probably heard of this, AI will create new jobs. How many jobs has it created in the last 6 months? Name one. Except prompt engineer. Except prompt engineer, which is, in my opinion, English, right? Except that, name a job that AI has created.
What do you think about prompt engineers?
I think prompt engineers are good people. Like, a CEO is a prompt engineer. They're necessary. Like, what does a CEO do? A CEO says, I have a plan in my head. I need to execute this. These are the things that I need. I give this person instructions. I give this person instructions. I give this person instructions. It's just nobody had talent under them to be CEO of. Now you have this $20 a month talent to be CEO of.
An interesting person I met recently gave me a statement. Prompt engineers are basically Googling. And everybody will need to become a prompt engineer, because it will be like Googling.
Yeah, I think it's management. It's management 101. Management, leadership, strategy. That's what prompt engineering truly is. Tanmay keeps saying this. It's the value of your taste, right? Today, if you know how to run a company, you can do it much more efficiently with AI. But you need to have that experience first. So I feel like a prompt engineer is somebody who has a lot of experience in that space. I keep giving the PUBG example. People have played PUBG, right? The shooting game. If you ask my mom and you give her some brief description of PUBG, let's say, PUBG is a shooting game. You play with guns, you walk around, whatever. Now write a video on PUBG. Use AI and write a video on PUBG. The way she would prompt it and say, PUBG is a shooting game, give video script on it. The script that comes out with what she asks from these AIs versus what an actual PUBG player would ask, and the kind of quality of that script would be very different. Because a player who actually knows PUBG would know things that are very unique to PUBG. What is a drop, right? How do you reload? Like, he'd know very specific things that are specific to the game and would prompt it such. Like, script may give me some strategies to stay outside of there's a ring in PUBG. If you stay outside the ring, you take damage. How do you stay outside the ring just for a short while? Like, there's nuance in what you know about the game that allows you to write a better script. Same with cooking. If you ask me to write something about cooking, I will ask AI, I will generate something that sounds good. But a real chef, somebody who really gets the game, will be able to prompt it in such a way that whatever script he writes will be far better than mine. So I think experience still matters, and prompt engineering is just a function of the experience you have. A prompt engineer in the space of biotech requires biotech experience, not prompt engineering experience. A prompt engineer in the space of gaming requires gaming experience. So I don't see prompt engineering as a separate job. I just feel it's an extension of somebody who already knows something about their space. And that you can't give me one example of a job that AI has created. It's only taken away till now. And it's been 6 months. We've had lots of different types of AI, right? If you're of the argument that AI is going to create new jobs, I urge you to point me to one, right? I can give you one example of a job which I think is created by AI. Earlier, you want an image model, there were just a few providers. Today, there's a website called Civit AI when anyone can go and put up their own AI models. Even that job is going to get wiped off the face of the earth when people realize that there are now UI tools where you can train your own model. Just drag and drop the pictures, train your own model. So everyone can do these things by themselves. So are there new jobs that AI has created? I don't think so. And I don't think it's ever going to happen. There might be few jobs, but it's definitely not like it'll create the surplus that steam engines created.
Yeah. Wow, that sounds very scary. As somebody who talks more about freelancing, you were a freelancer yourself when you got started, and I talk a lot about freelancing. Lots of freelancers follow this channel. How do you think AI is impacting the gig economy? You work with a lot of freelancers too, I'm sure. So how do you think AI is impacting us, especially in the fields of marketing, website development, copywriting, content writing?
Again, now I think your taste, your ideas have started. I used to be this guy that was like, ideas are not that important, which is still true. I mean, execution matters more than ideas. But the minute you have something that can execute well, then ideas start mattering all over again. Right? A lot of people say, oh, Varun, you used to say that ideas don't matter. Now you're saying again, ideas matter. Well, ideas have always mattered. It's just the weight on them was lower. If you can't execute, if you can't make a website in an era pre-AI, that doesn't matter how good your idea for the website is. But suddenly the world has changed. Suddenly now there are tools where you can make anything that you think of. So now I think this is the world of the idea guy, the idea girl, people who can just think of something and then synthesize them with many of these tools. Like we made an anime recently.
Yeah, it was lovely.
There's no one AI tool we used. We used a plethora of tools, right? And a lot of the work was still manual. We still edited, like the AV team still edited the video. So I feel like synthesizing these things, pulling these many different tools together, they allow you to be more competent at your existing job. So in this question of AI creating new jobs or AI creating new freelance careers, it's going to be the same old freelance careers. People are still going to hire graphic designers. People are still going to hire engineers. They're just going to use AI, right? So that argument of a person using AI is going to beat the person not using AI is actually true. So weird world. But yeah, like I said in the past, before in this conversation, there are going to be some freelancers now who are going to make ridiculous amounts of money because they're just able to take like 100, 200, 500 deals. Right? So
you mentioned being an idea guy, and that's something I could resonate a lot with because when it comes to a lot of my platforms, I think the growth that I've had is more because of my ideas. Like I connect different things into one context. And I know that your ideas are terrific, the way you portray them and the way you connect the dots. It's beautiful. How does one become an idea guy? Because I'm pretty sure that's also helpful in presenting pitches, proposals. So how do you become that person whose ideas are phenomenal?
I think no idea is unique. I think all ideas are remixes, right? You've never thought of a single unique idea in your life. It's always been a remix of something.
Connecting some dots. Yeah.
Connecting some dots here and there. That's why the most dangerous people in business are people who come from a completely different field. Like some guy coming from computer science into design is dangerous. Some guy coming from design into computer science is dangerous because they think differently. So these cross-domain, cross-platform, like I met this guy who sells sneakers. I think he comes from like old school factory business, Lala business type this thing, right? His approach is totally different. I don't know if it's the right or wrong approach, but it's a new approach. But he's still remixing two slightly two domains that are not usually seen with each other. So if we agree that a lot of ideas are remixes, right, then your inspirations matter. Where you're getting the original substrate to remix from matters. So I feel like it's so weird, okay? And I just have this thesis, I need to say it. I saw a content creator once. This guy who's really great at speaking, he was doing a video and a lot of people in the comments were like, isko kuch nahi aata hai, bas baat karta hai. Some content creator, okay? But his ideas were good. I watched the video and I saw the ideas were good. And the guy was like, in the video, he was like, मैं बस दिन में Netflix देखता हूँ. He was just being very honest. He's like, I just sit and watch Netflix the entire day and I just watch good stuff. And people are shouting at him for that as well. Paradoxically, and it's so weird, but in the AI era, those kind of people suddenly become very powerful. You can talk, so you have distribution, or whatever. When it comes to distribution, you have to talk, but you have to do it again and again and again until you get an audience. But he's watching Netflix, so his head is filled with new, interesting movies, concepts. He knows what endings will go well, what this will go well. And all he has to do now with these tools is synthesize them. Figure out, is this a good output, not good output? Good output, not good output. So in a way, an idea person who sits all the time watching Netflix, getting inspiration from different places, will beat an executor. It's so weird. It's not the world we signed up to be part of, right? Like we're part of this world where like hard work is the most important thing. And I still think hard work is very, very important. But as these AIs get more powerful, might not be today, but like 2-3 years down the line, somebody with good taste will beat somebody with bad taste. Like a Tanmay Bhatt will always write a better script with AI than I do. It's just because he knows what is a better script versus what is a worse script. So it just rewards people with ideas.
Absolutely. And talking about ideas, something that I've been thinking a lot is because I've been a freelancer for like almost 8 years now. But I see you, and I see a lot of the top of freelancers shutting their agencies off. Iman Gadzhi, Belmar, or at least not prioritizing it and now focusing more on software as a service. You yourself are doing that as well. So what is really happening? Are people scamming us? Are they not doing the things that they vouch for? And why are they inclined towards software as a service, especially in the context of AI?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts around this. See, I'll tell you one thing, okay? This is all depends on the scale you're playing at. Like, let me give the example of freelancing. Freelancing is great to go from 0 to maybe 50 lakhs a year, 40, 50 lakhs a year. You can even get to a crore a year freelancing. And your brand compounds there. But beyond a crore a year freelancing, except for some exceptions, it's hard. Very hard to go and be like a freelancer that makes 50 crores a year. Very tough.
Fair.
Probably no examples of it. So people decide I need to build a business. Okay. People decide I need to freelance only, but I need to have 10 people under me because my brand is getting big. I need to reroute projects to those people and I'll pay them a salary instead of paying them share of the business because they're not taking any risk. It's my brand. I'll give them salary. And many people will come in for a salary because for them they need to pay their bills and whatnot. So they start building an agency. Problem with agency is great to get to maybe from the first crore to 5 to 10 crores in revenue. I will always do an agency when I'm building up cash, right? But it is not a long-term business. After you get to 10 crores, 20 crores as an agency, oh man, it's a nightmare, right? Because your clients, you have an infinite number of clients that are eating your head all the time. You have an infinite amount of talent. By infinite, I mean whatever, 10, 20, 30, whatever it is. You have talent that one day that guy's not coming to work and the client will call and shout at you and be like, this guy didn't come to work. So you start finding that you're not able to do any creative work. You're managing fires. You're managing something breaking here, there, whatever. So it's a lot of, it's not a scalable problem. And humans really become a limiter, right, in an agency. Both the talent that's working with you as well as the clients. So you basically want a more scalable way to do things, okay? So that's where people move to software. People like, yeah, if I didn't have this talent working under me where I had to make sure they come to work from 9 to 5, deliver the things, are polite to the clients, etc., because most people are not. Given enough time, any person working in an agency will have at least one fight with the client. And who's going to solve that? The boss, right? Because it's the boss's responsibility. And eventually, if the boss doesn't care, it goes to the founder, right? So I feel like people build software because they think that I can just replace the talent that's working for me and I'll just do something that auto prints. Now, when done right, it's wonderful. You have businesses like Stripe and all the others, right? Like Zoho and all the others. The problem is there was an era where it worked for. So going from 20 crores to 100 crores, 500 crores is easier with software. But I feel like that era is coming to an end.
Why so?
This is going to be controversial, but I'll speak my mind because I think it's just my learnings, right? So last year we built Scenes, right? 2 years we built a community platform called Scenes. In the beginning we built consumer social. That didn't work out, right? Because we bet on the pandemic, but building consumer social is very, very tough. Threads is struggling with it. Nobody in India has figured it out. It's like getting users and then monetizing users for free and letting them use your software for free is like, it starts getting very expensive. So we pivoted to software as a service. We sold that software. I didn't enjoy it as much. But then after that, after Scenes got done, we sold it to Unacademy. We built some more software. We built Alpha CTR where we built a fine-tuned stable diffusion model where we allowed people to make their own thumbnails, YouTube thumbnails.
I've used Alpha CTR.
Yeah, so we did that. Then we did another one called AutoCode Pro. Then we did one called Gardener Box where we put GPT inside WhatsApp. That was more a GPT wrapper. We didn't do a custom model for that. Here's what we found. With Gardener Box, it did well. It got somewhere. But then ChatGPT came out with their app, their mobile app. GPT 3.5 free. I can't compete with free because WhatsApp, there are costs, right? Even OpenAI, when I use the credits, there are costs. I said, okay, fine. They come out for free. Then with Alpha CTR, we were like, okay, at least Midjourney is paid. We'll continue to run. But then DALL-E 3 came out, and they put it in Bing for free. Now Google's image generation is completely free. Okay, and now you look at the Pixel 9, the new phone. In the new Google phone, they have a TPU where all processing is local. So it no longer needs to go to the cloud. They don't bear any cost for generating an image for you. It happens on the phone. You are feeding it in electricity. It's using that little bit of electricity and the phone's resources, the hardware on the phone, to generate the image for you. So Google can literally price it at zero, right? So we are starting to learn that, especially with AI, the cost of software that people are willing to bear is zero. And even if some guy comes in and says, I will build this for 10, like I'll tell you how it happens in the real world, okay? Let's say you and I are selling toothpaste. I'm a company A and you're a company B. I'm selling toothpaste for 10 rupees. And I'm winning the market. I'm a monopoly. There's no competition. I can sell anything. I can sell it for 100 rupees. You come in, you're a daring entrepreneur, and you say, that guy's selling at 100, he has no competition. I'm going to sell it at 20 rupees. I'm going to cut him so hard. So you start winning some deals. You start winning traffic. People come to you because they're like, that's affordable toothpaste. Then I look at you, I'm like, how can she make it affordable? I'll make it 19 rupees. Then you'll be like, he's made it 19, I'll make it 18. So there'll be a price war for a bit. Then we both come down to what our margins are. So in the beginning, my margin is huge. When you came in at 20 rupees, your margins probably, let's say the cost of making the toothpaste itself was 10 rupees. You're getting 50% margin, okay, at 20. Now we're all getting closer to the 10 rupee mark because both you and I are competing. Then we get to 11 rupees each. Both of us now have 1 rupee margin. One day I call you. I'm like, Saheli, we need to stop doing this. We are killing each other. Let's agree to stick to this margin. Let's not undercut anymore. You agree. You say, yeah, he's right, right? 1 rupee margin is not worth running a business on. But it doesn't matter because there'll be a kid that comes out and says, fine, I'll do it at 10.5. There'll be another kid that comes in and says, I'll do it at 10.2. So that starts happening in a business. Now in software, the actual cost of producing software after you've actually produced the software is closer to zero, right? Software has zero marginal cost of replication. Once I've made the software, once I can replicate it infinite times. Now, if there is some baseline to sustain my software engineering team, let's say I need 10 engineers, okay? And they're going to keep adding new features and all, they're going to be competent. Let's say that cost is maybe $1 million a year. So I know that anything above $1 million a year, I can undercut the pricing like anything. I can make it zero also. But there are people in the industry now, and it's been happening for a while, where they'll come in and be like, I don't even care about making that $1 million. I will raise $100 million, and for the next 100 years, I will continue to sustain this business at zero cost. Like I will absorb all the costs and I will make the users pay zero. Like Canva does this well, right? And they say, I'll do freemium. I will allow you to use this for 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever, and I'll bill you after that. These days, the amount of VC capital that has gone into the ecosystem, people are like, I don't even need to keep you freemium. I'll just keep it free. And I'll have one crazy package on top where I'm like, if you want these extreme features, you can come build this much. You can come spend this much on me and I'll give you these extra features. And the problem with that is now you need a lot of money to play. Because let's say you want to play in the image generation space. You want to compete with Canva. You can't do it without 100 million just to play. It's not the right to win. It's just the right to play because you need to be free for long enough for you to build trust, audience, etc., etc. So that's what's happening to software. And with AI, the cost of you generating or creating what you want is getting even lower. Like there are a bunch of meditation apps, okay? The minute GPTs come out with GPT, the voice version, where it can talk to you, I can literally ask you to tell me any story I want. So the meditation app that was charging you $1 a month now has to go to zero because GPT 3.5 is zero or $20. And that $20 includes everything. It's not just for meditation. You can use GPT for everything, writing scripts, doing homework, everything, right? So I think eventually everyone will have one piece of software they pay for. And even that, they will probably pay for it with hardware. They will buy that phone, which will have, that's why I think Google will win this game. They'll buy that phone where all the processing is local and Google will be like, you get the phone, but you also get this miraculous AI inside it that can do everything. You know, there is a way professionals use software as a service, like I'm talking about leaders use software as a service versus a junior uses software as a service. Let's say take sales. There are lots of sales CRMs, right? Customer relationship management tools. The way a junior would use it is he'd go manually fill it. The way a senior would do it, like I'm talking about some VP, vice president level of a company, he would not punch any of the data himself. He would go to his assistant and he'd be like, "Aaj ye deal aaya, iska price ye hai, likh le," and he'll ask for a report at the end of the day. That's what I do, right? So eventually, you will do that to GPT because everyone has that miraculous assistant. So instead of you saying today this brand came in, they want to do this deal, instead of you punching that data in, you just tell GPT, this guy came, find out, you do research about him, you tell me if he's a legitimate lead or not. GPT will score the lead also. So I feel like everything's going to fold into an AI. And even in AI, because there's a price war among all the top guys, the people who do hardware can price it at zero. A Pixel 9's AI is, the bar on Pixel 9 is going to be cost of zero. So the person who has that hardware, who sells you that hardware, you're making a one-time investment. It's like electric bills. You're making a one-time investment and then your cost is just the cost of electricity. and maintenance. So we are entering my thesis, and this is a thesis, and the reason I say this is my thesis is because this is what I've seen. We've built 3 AI softwares now, right? So my thesis is that the cost of this is going to drop to 0. So there's no point fighting this war. I don't have 100 million. That's a cost to play. I don't have $100 million to play around with. So I can't play many of those games. So instead we use software. We still build software, but we use it internally. Because the minute you have software and it gets big, somebody else will try to compete with you and they will raise money, and I don't want to get into that fight. Instead, we'll do outcomes. At the end of the day, when you go and buy software, when you go to Canva, what do you want? Actually, what you want is a great poster or a great design, right? So give them that great poster or great design, right? Now, in the case of Canva or in the case of this, that can completely be generated with AI. But there's lots of places where people want, like for example, if I'm starting a channel, I can buy the individual tools for the channel, but Saheli, if you came to me and said, I will run the channel for you, don't worry, I'll get it to X number of views, I would pay you for that. I don't care what tools you use behind the scenes. You use as much technology as you want. You automate yourself. I don't care. You give me channel outcome. Because I've done the ROI math on the channel. I know how much the channel can make per year. I know how much I'm okay with spending on it. And the cheaper you are, the better for me. So we are now entering a world where people want outcomes. Because see, just because AI exists doesn't mean, the CEO is going to do everything himself or herself. They don't have the time. Absolutely. So I would still hire somebody external, pay you well, make sure you're well incentivized. So you're thinking about the problem 24/7 and adapting as times go by. So I think we're going to enter a world where leadership experience matters a lot more than the execution of the thing itself. I used to always ask myself, when I was younger, right? Why do companies need middle-level management? Why do companies need leaders? Aren't the executors the most important people? Aren't the people writing the code that are the most important people? It turns out I was so stupid and young and dumb and wrong. Because it turns out without leaders, the company goes in the wrong direction. Like, you choose the wrong direction, you can waste years of your time. You can waste years of your talent's time as well. So choosing direction, figuring out what the next big thing is, most of your time should go there if you're a leader. And taste, right? If you're coming up with a marketing campaign, making sure it's actually cool. Because lots of brand managers, companies that just do terrible stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. But from whatever I hear, it sounds very scary for me to start a new business because everything seems it's going to get outdated very quickly. So let's say somebody watching this video has a job and they want to quit. They want to do something of their own. What should they do? Freelancing,
there are infinite
building
businesses.
a product.
I'll tell you one thing.
What business should they start?
It's less about the business. I think it's more about who you sell the business to. For example, I meet so many UI UX designers who say, oh shit, I'm doing UI UX design, funding is reduced now in the market, I'm not getting great jobs, my salary is taking a haircut, whatever. I'm like, what is your obsession with going and working for some VC funded company? Go to the real estate guys. Have you seen a real estate brochure? It's terrible. And those guys literally charge crores to people who want to buy properties from them, right? You go to a prestige group or an embassy group or whatever and tell them, I will design all your posters for your new properties. I'll make a beautiful landing page for you. Those are extremely valuable. I don't know why we stick to... So even when you do design, who are you doing design for? I'm a boutique design firm, great, for real estate guys. I'm a boutique design firm for, manufacturing companies. I'm a salesperson, but I'm a salesperson for manufacturing companies. I think those sub-niches are untapped. Everyone's gravitates, like bheed. The minute, a bunch of competent people are being created in industries, they're all flowing towards that one job that they think is cool. It's all perceived coolness. The top real estate companies in India make far more money than the startups.
Yeah.
But I think we just flock towards what is cool. Right now, a lot of people are flocking towards YouTube because it's cool. And they're all doing the same kind of thing, right? They're all doing podcasts. They're all doing the same thing. And it's easy to do those things when you have reach already. Like, it was easy for a Ranveer to do it because he's already at some scale when he decided to start the podcast. If a big creator starts a podcast, they have a high chance of succeeding. Or if a billionaire starts a podcast, they have a higher chance of succeeding. But I think even if you want to win on YouTube, go for the niches that are untapped. Create a channel purely around, careers or, very niche photography or very niche, how do you do sound design well? You will never become as big as a mainstream podcaster, but you build a business, build an interesting business, right? You make a channel purely about microphones. I'm just taking some random example, right? Microphones. There is a niche for it. And there are people who will come watch it. And you can be the best microphones podcast. You will never make as much money as a mainstream podcaster podcasting with Narendra Modi and whatnot. but you still have a niche that you can win at, right? So I think people forget the niche and they all go to the
what looks cool
looks
on
cool,
camera.
what
and
feels cool.
There's more exposure about this stuff online, but I think the boring stuff is where more
But everyone
money
does.
lies.
I'm telling you, everyone who you think is cool today has done the niche. Everyone starts out extremely niche. I remember when let's say Tanmay was doing stand-up, like AIB, stand-up comedy is separate, YouTube was separate. Nobody had mixed the two, right? Nobody, like, they were pioneers in that space. There were some examples, but no one was fairly big, right? So you take these niches, you crack those niches, right? When we started AEVY, no one was doing skits and informational content. It was such a weird thing. It was a niche when we started out. So you find things that you think will become popular 2 years from now, or that you can make popular 2 years from now. And that's where I think the value is to be created. That's what I think. Or you go work for somebody who you think is doing miraculous stuff. When OpenAI started, I've been following OpenAI since they had this, they made these Dota bots beat, top players of the game. And at that point, OpenAI was not a well-known company, right? I have a reel about them, a post about them on my Instagram from like 4-5 years ago. Nobody knew about them. They had worked on a hand that used to move things around. And I used to keep sharing that stuff 4-5 years ago as well. So I feel like even in investing, it's true, right? You have to invest in a company far before it becomes popular. So by the time podcasts have already gone mainstream too late, Kishore Biani has a podcast today. Mohandas Pai has a podcast today. Now it's mainstream. So unfortunately, the window's closed unless you already have some leverage in that space. So find spaces which look unexciting or unsexy to other people and go win that. But best spaces are not spaces that look unexciting or unsexy, but spaces that look like it's joke or it's a toy. Media companies saw YouTube come. None of them really adapted to the platform. And they looked at all these YouTubers who were making content and whatnot, and they laughed at them. They said, "Tu YouTube kar raha hai, haha." Inversion. Now you might think, but Varun, I could tell that YouTube was going to become big. A lot of kids will say that, right? But it looked like a toy to many of these serious people back then. It looked like a serious tool. I see the exact same thing with AR and VR right now, right? You look at the Oculus, everyone thinks it's a toy, it's interesting, it's fun. Nobody's betting their careers on it. Nobody's saying, I will go all and make a game for, the Oculus. Because it sounds stupid. It sounds like it's a non-serious career. But that's where the money will be made 5-10 years down the line. You have to always look at something that looks non-serious or looks like a toy today if you want to make serious money. Like I'm talking about, tens of crores of rupees. Even my creator career is actually 7 years old. 6-7 years old, right? And even I didn't take it as seriously as I do today. I was just like, till this year, till the last 6 months, I just took YouTube I was like, it's nice, it's easy to hire talent when you have a YouTube channel. I never took it seriously. But now I have. So I feel like, and I still feel it's a little bit early, but I still feel like finding things before they become popular is such an important skill. And it's going to be important even after AI. I think that is going to be the most important skill after AI. I'll ask you a question. What do you think are 3 things that are going to become that are not popular right now, that are going to become extremely popular in 2 years from now?
What are 3 things that are going to become extremely popular 2 years from now?
2 years from now that are not popular right now?
In tools.
Anything that you think of. They're going to become extremely important 2 years from now.
I think common sense.
Common sense has always been important and popular.
Storytelling and personalization. I feel like a lot of stuff feels very
Generic.
robotic and generic. Yeah.
Okay.
So understanding what really connects with the emotional part of the brain.
Got it.
That I feel is going to become very, very important. Third thing I think is going to be, I would say ideas, as you said a while back.
Got it.
Because I feel like a lot of people are trying to copy what's already working in the US and India. A lot of people are just trying to replicate what they already know. So there's a lack of originality. So I think originality is also going to become very, very important.
I think those things have been timeless. Those are timelessly true. I'll tell you 3 spaces that I think look like toys right now, but are going to become very, very popular. Everything on the Quest, Apple Vision Pro. Dude,
Right.
I've been making games and talking about game design for a very long time. I have a 50 episode free series on Unreal Engine as well. Some 2,000, 3,000 views per episode. 50 episodes is like, the last episode probably has like hundreds of views, just 200, 300 views. But I think 5 years from now, people are going to be like, shit, I should have spent time on Unreal Engine. Shit, I should have spent time on Unity. I think they're going to become extremely, extremely popular. Second thing is biotech. I think at least in biotech till now, the way marketing branding has gone on has been the same that it's been for the last couple of decades, right? You go to a doctor, you give him a pen, you call him to a conference, right? You say, whatever. I think that's going to change. The drugs are getting better. If you see the way drugs are marketed in the US, I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. There'll be a TV ad about it. There's a new drug, for example, for constipation or for diarrhea. There'll be an ad about it and they'll make it sound very nice and cool and whatnot. In India, it's still like a very shunned thing because it feels unsexy and uncool to do advertising for pharma companies. Big opportunity there. Third opportunity is offline events. People want to do everything tech, cool, content, online, etc.
Offline events, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so people want to do cool tech, content, etc. online. But have you actually spoken to your average fan? Like you have fans, right? Have you spoken to the average fan? You really sit down with them for like half an hour, 45 minutes. What they really want is offline connection. It's what we learned in the AEVY cohorts, right? Achina keeps telling me about this every day. It's like ultimately people come here, placements and all are great, and teaching video editing, making it a career and all is great. Some people are really passionate about video. But you know what the best thing about the cohorts is? It's the fact that you get to meet people. Smart people like you, ambitious. Dude, you have no idea how lonely the average Indian is. They're stuck with their parents, maybe few friends that they have that are not on their wavelength. They're just stuck. It's like, they're like, how do I get out of this rut? How do I get out of this daily rut?
So considering 2 years back, we were all thinking about going online because of scalability. Do you think there's going to be a shift?
And also because of pandemic. We
Yeah.
went online because of scalability and pandemic. I think people, now today, if you say I'm doing an offline event, people think it's unsexy. People think it's boring. But I think if everything gets automated online, what do humans do? Humans will still want the same old. You still want to date. You still want to meet people. You still want to, exchange ideas in real life. Offline events are going to make it, they're going to have a big comeback in the country, right? Across the world, actually. But no one's focused on it. Everyone's like, my app banaunga. It's like, have you spoken to the average person? Does the average person really want an app to meet people? I by the way, I'm guilty of this. I built an app for that. And yes, Facebook has really connected the world and, causes all sorts of problems as well. But that opportunity ship has sailed. There was a time where Facebook looked like a toy. It's like, Orkut and all looked like toys. Then they became serious. They became worth billions of dollars. But now that ship has sailed. You can't build that anymore. Unless there's some inflection, there's some shift in something. The reason we tried building one was because pandemic happened. We thought this was a shift. Enough of a shift. It'll last long enough for us to build a business. We were wrong about it. But I feel like here, offline events are going to be massive. And I think nobody is really focused on it.
Yeah. But we recently attended a few offline events, and I can really see that most people would buy the tickets not because of the event, but because you're going to meet so many people who are in the same mindset as you, because it's so rare to find those people.
And I think offline events you can truly make an experience out of offline events. You can truly make it fun, right? Like one big problem with offline events, how do you meet people in an offline event? You walk in, how do I make introductions happen? You walk in, people, there's a badge or a thing that people wear, right? That's not enough. That's not enough for somebody to come up.
How do you do it?
I don't have answers for this because I don't think about offline. I'm not thinking about offline events right now. But when I do think about it, I'll do it very differently, right? I would we did one recently, right? We invested in a company which does offline events. And the way we did it is like we made them all sing, dance. We made sure that people met each other. We did it very manually. We had these steward type people who would come and like make two people talk to each other. Very manual process. There should be a way to, that's again, using technology behind the scenes to make connections happen instead of selling the technology itself. You're not doing SaaS there. You're saying, bro, everyone's wearing a wristband or everyone has an app on their phone where you get to see everyone in front of you. I don't know. I'm just going on a limb thinking of ideas. But what I'm saying is you use technology behind the scenes to make connections happen. So I feel like big opportunities there. And it's unsexy today. Like you ask any kid, they want to go to Y Combinator. I mean, I'm talking about startup kids. They want to go to Y Combinator. They want to build an app. They want to build some SaaS. Ship is started. That by the time something becomes extremely popular, time's up. It's in my life for the last 10 years has been true. Anything that I've done which is already mainstream doesn't work.
Fair enough. From this entire conversation, I can feel that you have dipped your feet in a lot of businesses, made a lot of decisions, and I'm pretty sure some of them were amazing. But I am more interested in the top 3 things that you learned from failures. Because I think most people, when they see you, they look at all the successes you have, because of course we talk more about that. But I want to talk about the unsexy side of your business or your career so far.
Yeah, I've had a lot of failures. In fact, The main reason for my failure is all the failures that I've had in my life is not understanding markets well enough. It's never been technology, team, or execution. Usually, the technology, team, execution is the hardest kind of risks, right? Or that's the risk that's spoken about. For me, it's all about there's no market for what I was building first few years. We were always ahead, right? Like I built something. So we built this thing in Unreal Engine where it's called inverse kinematics in VR, where depending on the positions of the sticks, the joysticks, and your headset, it's able to triangulate where your elbows are. It's not perfectly accurate, but where your elbows are, where your knees are. We were able to build that, and we thought we'll sell it. When we decided to sell it and we tried a small pilot of it, literally nobody was interested because nobody was building VR games at that time. I wanted to really build a desktop game. A lot of people who learn game design want to build desktop games. But when you've tried it for a while and we thought about it for a while, we built a demo and all that. Nobody actually had enough, like in India doesn't have enough desktops. People mostly use their phones. So it was a lot of poor TAM estimation. What is the market size of people that would actually use this? And some of my dumbest ideas have done really, really well. Like some of our AI, like we have now more than 1 million users on our AI tools. All three, 2 of them were very simple. Alpha, CTR, Garden Box. Those did reasonably well, right? So I think people want simple stuff. I was an engineer. I wanted to build complex stuff. And I feel like I wish this is a message I could tell myself from 10 years ago, which I see a lot of engineers repeating on Twitter especially, right? Like, for example, landing pages. We made a landing page the other day, and we used Framer to make it. It's just quick with Framer, right? And some guy was like, why aren't you using code? Page load speed time is this much. It's like, you're missing the point. In fact, if you're doing that at your company, you're probably a burden to the company, right? Ultimately, the end user does not care what stack you're using behind the scenes, right? They care, is it a quick experience? Is it useful? Does the information come across to me? But for the first few years of my life, I thought I have to prove that as an engineer to other engineers that complexity is important. So I would say between these 23 to 24, 25, 26, I started building things that I thought my friends would find cool, my engineer friends would find cool, rather than what my customers would find cool. And you'll see this with every artist, every engineer, everyone. I would say engineering is also kind of a creative role because you're solving problems with code, right? There are many ways to solve any problem. And your job is to think of the most creative, quickest way to solve that problem. So when you look at your engineer friends and you're like, he's doing something cool at Microsoft, he's doing something, I also have to prove that I can do something cool. You see these artists as well, right? After first year, artists will make something, like a video maker will make something for his audience. Third year, the video maker makes something for his friends. Some, isolated, some guy's mental journey of, some very artistic, artsy thing after the third or fourth year, right? So they've forgotten. Ultimately, it's about the audience. And then those same people, those same artists, those same engineers will look at an Arnav Goswami and be like, what an idiot, look at the kind of... But Arnav Goswami is making so much more money than them. Because Arnav Goswami gets it. Like, he gets that this is what the audience want. They want to hear me screaming and shouting. I will do that. So I feel like I made that mistake for many years of my life where I built for my peers, where I built to impress my friends or VCs or whatever. And I just didn't get that it's about the audience. It's about the people that are going to come and pay me money for software, or it's about the people that are going to come and watch the content and gain value out of it. And this year I realized that. In fact, I actively do that. When I think about building a new app or a new idea, I'm always like, am I doing this to impress somebody, or am I doing this because it will help improve some, either the profit margin or the total top line revenue of the company? I keep thinking from that end. So that's number one, in my opinion. I think true radical focus on your customer is very important. Second thing is Y Combinator and all the content that comes out of the US about how to build a startup doesn't apply to India. Like,
why so?
I think there's one rule that applies, which is make things that people want. I love that about Y Combinator. Ultimately, business is about make things that people want. And I made what my peers want for a bit, like I told you in the last thing. But also a lot of other Y Combinator advice doesn't work for India. Like software, India will always choose to prioritize money over convenience, right? They will be like, this is 1 rupee cheaper, so I will go with it. I don't care if it has 1 rupee worth more of value. That's why software doesn't work in India. You have to export software outside of India. You have to play like a Infosys, Flipkart. Sorry, you have to do like an Infosys or a Wipro or whatever and sell the software outside India. Or you have to do a Zoho and sell software outside of India. A lot of people think Zoho is an Indian company. It is an Indian company, but also the founders sat outside of India for 25 years, right? The sales comes in the US and a lot of those sales are enterprise sales. So Y Combinator doesn't easily apply to India. And I wish I wish I could go back and like just be like, think more Indian. Like go out, meet some people. Like the best thing that's ever happened to me is YouTube. I think because of YouTube, I became a better entrepreneur. Because on YouTube, you see comments. And when I started out, how I thought India was not what India is. And
What are some of the massive things that you saw were different?
you can see the difference between Twitter and YouTube. Twitter is like exactly this. It's a bunch of young kids like me, some older kids, who are all very groupthink, consensus think about what they think India is, but it's not that. They think India is Kunal Shah and this and that. Dude, go to Tirupati. Stand in that queue. That's what India is. That's most of the people that will use, even apps like Zomato. Those are the people that will use apps like Zomato. So I just wish somebody just kicked me out of my shell and pushed me there. And when I read the comments sometimes on YouTube, I get it. Like, we did a video recently about CBDC, right? Central banking. There's a new digital rupee that's coming out. And that had a more premium Twitter-like audience because I shared it on Twitter. And I could see all the comments are like smart and talking about blockchain and, they're talking about banking and whatnot. Then at the same time on AEVY, we had done a video about some Qatar doing something. And the comments were all like, damn weird. You go to,
like what?
Yeah, you go to some large creator in India, some political creator in India, see his comments. He'll have 100 times my views. And just see his comments. It'll be like, India great. There'll be one comment saying, this man always never disappoint his audience with bad English. I saw one recently saying, free Palestinian. They were trying to say free Palestine, but they had written free Palestinian and that had likes and nobody corrected the spelling error, right? So that is what India is. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Different exposures, different times. But if you sit on Twitter, it's all very high armchair snobbery, that, I know everything. Most of those people are really, there's some real estate lalas making far more money than many of those people. But they're sitting on their armchair thinking I'm better than thou, right? That's why I hate that platform now, because it's just like, they've forgotten what India actually is, and they've not left their house for a long time, or they're sitting in one circle, one area in Bangalore or in Delhi, and they're like, this is the country. So YouTube has really changed that for me, getting to scale on YouTube. Actually, it's not just YouTube, it's getting to scale on YouTube. In the first few years, I had about 100K something subscribers on YouTube.
You understood the masses?
No, at 100K, I didn't understand the masses because I was attracting a very specific kind of smart audience, because I was making content like how do you send out cold emails and all that, right? Or how do you use Unreal Engine. That's going to attract a specific type of audience. But the minute we start creating political content, slightly political content, or massy AI content, like we do deepfakes, we'll do a deepfake about Shah Rukh, right? We'll do an audio clone, but we'll do an audio clone about some celebrity, right? That attracts the masses. And there, from those comments, I have learned so much about the country, about people, that this year, in the last 6 months, I have not missed. There's nothing that I've built in the last 6 months that has not been commercially successful. But I wish I could teleport back in time to my 20-year-old self, slap him and be like, yo, you idiot. Stop reading Y Combinator. Stop sitting on Twitter and talking to these same 50 people who think they know everything, and go build for the country. I wish I could go back and do that. I would not have such a long history of failures, but also paradoxically, I wouldn't be here without that long history of failures. So I think failure is normal. I'm proud. Like if you see my LinkedIn, and I don't update LinkedIn much, but I'm like constantly being humbled by entrepreneurship. I want to have more failures. I want to have more embarrassments, because I tried more often than everybody else. I want that to be, I don't know if people believe in gravestones or epitaphs, but I believe in that, right? When I go out, people are like, this guy ran the most experiments, he has the most failures, but also the few things that worked. Wow. That's what I want to be known for. And I don't know if that's possible.
No, but I think that's definitely possible. We are seeing more and more of you as the years pass. And I think you're one of those people who's equally popular with tech and non-tech people at this point. So that is very exciting. Today's last question for you, based on everything that we discussed, just like we asked ChatGPT with a prompt, I'm going to give you a prompt. You'll act as mentor GPT. So my prompt is that I want to be a millionaire in the next 2 years. What is the step-by-step plan I should follow?
For where you are at, this is for you or for the audience?
No, for a beginner audience. Yeah.
I think it's very hard to be a millionaire in 2 years for the average person. Main reason is it takes time. A million in 2 years is about 500K a year. About half is about 4 crores a year. Very tough for somebody who's new. I think good approach would be to get really good at a skill, make maybe 40, 50 lakhs a year for 10 years, right? Keep staying competent, keep adapting, skills are going to be less useful over time. So you'll have to convert those skills into a network very, very quickly over the next maybe 5-6 years. And then maybe in 10 years, you've done 100K a year, and then maybe you make $1 million. So over 10-year horizon, it seems more possible to make and store $1 million. If you want to get really fast, you want to get there really fast in 2 years, you have to identify some new market. Or you have to identify some gap in a market that nobody else has tapped. Like this graphic design for real estate people, I think it's a massive opportunity, right? Every agency kid that I meet is always trying the same thing. Like graphic design, which is the clients you're working with, it's like, yeah, we don't have clients, but we're trying to crack cred. I'm like, you think cred has a lack of, graphic designers? Where is the opportunity? Go where the opportunity is. Go where it's an underserved set of people, right? I think there's money there in underserved people, and you have to work really hard. Like the same people who want to make $1 million in 2 years are also against working, whatever, X number of hours. I saw there's one full controversy.
Yeah.
That's again, Twitter's very good at that, high arm sharing. But I think you have to choose, right? Like if you're working less hours, then you make less money, but you make a peace with that. Right? And I think there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to work 10 hours, but I want to make only this much money, but I want to be happy in life. Like I'm telling you, money is not the secret to happiness. You need enough to pay your bills and eat and whatnot, but money is not the secret to happiness. I think the secret to happiness is to have good people around you, right? And to have good health. Both you learn the hard way. But I think in 2 years, if you want to make it in 2 years, you have to find a new market.
Good market.
Or sell your skills in a market that's underserved. Same skills, you go to like a Middle East country where it's slightly underserved, find some real estate in Middle East and go help them do design. You'll make a killing. So don't go where the crowd is. Go where the crowd is not going.
Awesome. I think the best takeaway of this entire conversation is that you really need to serve a good market. And I think you have taught that from your failures more than your successes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. Any last tips for someone watching this video and feeling a little afraid because of all the conversations we had about AI, that so many markets are becoming obsolete? So what is the guarantee that I'll find a new market, but it will not become obsolete again?
See, I think there are no guarantees in life. I worked hard for a decade, and out of that decade, maybe 3-4 years were good. But I worked equally hard in the other years. And almost like the years I worked very hard in the early days, all the failures led to this. But there are no guarantees in life. And I feel like if AI does take over all jobs, that's okay, because it will also create abundance. And I think if everyone has access to a god or a near god-like entity, who cares about jobs? Stop making your status about jobs. You need to have the ability to mentally shift away from I'm unemployed, and to like unemployment is seen as a bad thing, right? Which I guess is fine. It's in your head. But if you can be like, I'm not unemployed because I'm not hardworking. I'm unemployed because this technology is here and it's just made me completely unviable. But also, it doesn't matter because this technology is creating unlimited abundance. I will always have food in my mouth. I will always have shelter, even though that shelter might not be in Bangalore. India has enough land. It's remote land. But using technology, you can, in a way, terraform, civilize remote land, right? You can have a supermarket. Manipal's done this really well. So it's possible to do that pretty quick. And people will focus on that. There are going to be lots of opportunities there. So if you go in that mindset and you be like, I'm still going to be okay even if I don't have a job, you will suffer a lot less than everybody else. And I'm only doomer about jobs. I'm not doomer about world ending. I think the world is going to be fantastic post-AI. I think it's going to be a good world.
And in this world, last question for you today, what are the things that we are going to see you focus on for the next 1 year?
So we want to win distribution. We did 88 million views across 7 channels last month. We want to start pushing to like 400, 500 million views, right? Be truly the biggest. Like in English media, I think very few people come close to our numbers across our channels, but we want to be really big. But that distribution means to an end. Media doesn't make money. We want to train our own talent. That's why we do the cohorts. We have about 3 cohorts. We want to train really good talent in the spaces we are interested in. We want to build quality IP, like the anime, stuff like that. We want to build quality IP both for ourselves as well as for others. So we want to build IP in our case, like for example, break down the channel as an IP. We also create content for other companies. So that could be IP for them. We also have a labs division where we're constantly trying, like the anime came from the labs division. Like, can we push the boundary? Can we do something crazy, right? Where generally labs exists. I mean, labs funds itself by going and building AI models for different companies across the country. Paradoxically, we work with a lot of media companies there. It sustains itself, but the conclusion of all of this is build a lot of distribution, build businesses on top of that distribution, eventually take a little bit of this offline as AI starts really hitting the online world, build experiences, build distractions, build games. Ultimately, I think if I had to summarize what I'm trying to do over the next decade, it's to build distraction for a post-AGI world. There's going to be artificial general intelligence. People are still going to want to watch fun stuff. People are still going to want to play fun games, right? Can I build those? That's the question. And yeah, that's why I hate when people call me the AI guy. Firstly, I think there are many other good people who are deserving of that title. But B, I always want to be, my goal is to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter whether it's AI, AR, Unreal Engine. Like, we will use all the technology possible to solve this goal of building an infinite distraction. So next year, we'll probably have, I don't know, I want to do AI paintings, like a digital painting where, you have an LED screen on that painting where it's a real person you can talk to. I think that's definitely possible now. We want to do cool action figures where you can talk to that action figure. It's been trained on the lore of some character. Yeah, we want to do really whack stuff. Labs will do really whack stuff. So, yeah.
The links to all his channels and all his profiles will be in the caption below or description below. And also, I think a lot of our viewers are actually going to be interested in AVTV's video editing cohorts. So in case you're interested in making a freelance career or getting a job in video editing, please check that out as well. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Is there anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for hosting me.
And thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Please leave a comment with any question you have for him. We'll try our best to cover that as well. And thank you so much for coming on the channel one more time, Varun. It was amazing hosting you. I'm slightly worried for a few things myself, but it was a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting me.